Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Wealthy Sailor. I am John, and this is sort of a video blog of me talking about my personal financial goals, along with sharing with you some of the secrets and some of the things that I've learned throughout the process of me trying to save. Um, Nothing on here is actually a secret, though, because pretty much everything that I talk about is stuff that I found out online or whatever. I have a lot of methods for learning new things, but generally nothing I'm teaching is a secret. It's just me telling you certain things I found. Today's topic is teaching kids about money. Now, I think most of us can agree that the current preschool through 12th grade school process is really bad about teaching kids things that they need to know about money. Now, I don't necessarily fault schools with this because a lot of people I know complain about how the schools aren't teaching their kids about taxes or whatever. But the thing is that parents can still teach kids that. In fact, 99% of everything a child learns is from their parents. Schools are there to get kids to a certain level, but this is where parents step in. And that's actually where I learned most of the stuff I know about money, that I learned at a young age, was from my father, just talking about it. Now, he would talk about everything in a very abstract way. I never knew how much money he had or what he was saving or his investments, but I knew about compound interest. I knew about basics about checking accounts. I knew the difference between state, federal, and local taxes, which seems to be a thing that people have a hard time with, that different taxes go to different things, so it's not all one big pot. Although in certain cases it is, but that's a whole other story. While working through this idea to try to figure out how I'm going to put it in a video format and everything, I found a study that said 46% of Americans said they feel uncomfortable talking about money. Now, to put that in perspective, like 40% thought were uncomfortable talking about religion, then like 35 about politics, which means that on average, people feel more comfortable talking about politics, religion, and even death was on this list than they do about money, which I always found to be kind of weird because you can talk about money and finances without like giving away too much personal information, but also maybe it's because I have this video and I don't think it's actually taboo to talk about how I'm doing, because I made so many mistakes to get to where I am that I feel like it's almost a learning process. Like, hey, here's all the things you don't do that took me 15 years of adulthood to figure out, so maybe I can help out the next guy. But this causes a problem where kids actually sense that they're not supposed to talk about this stuff. And the thing is that the flow of money, personal finances, and investment, it's a very complex thing that requires so many different nuances and details for you to know, for you to understand the big picture. So if parents aren't talking to kids about it and they're not learning at school, where are they learning new things about money? Where are they learning financial information from? And that brings me to my next point. Most people learn a lot of their financial knowledge from advertisers that are advertising financial products or other things like that, or from guys trying to sell them stuff. Part of the study mentioned that somebody learned about how car loans work from the guy who was trying to motivate them to sign the paperwork for a car loan. And although I'm not saying there aren't honest people out there, because I actually would venture to say the vast majority of all people in the financial industry are honest. Regardless of what it is, I think if you're in the financial industry, you're probably honest. However, why risk it? Like, why put your faith into somebody when you don't have to? Or at least you should be able to verify what they're telling you. So building off of this idea, I started thinking about it. And again, I have this channel, so I talk about money a lot. And I have no problem sharing with everybody exactly how I'm doing, how I got there, my plans for the future, stuff like that. However, some people are. So I looked up kind of what some experts say that kids, like how you should start approaching kids about money. And they said between 4 and 6 years old is when kids should start learning about money. Now, it's really up to parents how you want to teach it. Like I always tell my son, when he find a career you like, and then you'll make money in that career, but don't chase a career just for the income. Now, that might not be the best advice, but it's what I'm choosing to teach him, because I don't want him just going after a high-paying job being unhappy. I want him to rather take a lower-paying job and be happy. Now, it's not saying I want him to be a starving artist or be a liberal arts major or anything like that. I think that there's a certain amount of happiness that's found when you have a job that doesn't feel like a job. And I do think if you're good at something and you like it, you'll find a way to make a decent living off of it. So the same article I found said that between the ages of 6 and 9 are when kids should start learning about transactions, the exchange of money for goods and services. It's really important that they kind of get this idea down that certain things are worth that. They went even so far as to give the example that if you give your kid like money for doing an hour worth of work, when they spend that money, just gently remind them how much time it took them to earn that same amount of money. Is that candy bar that they want to buy worth an hour of their time? And it's not to dissuade them from the purchase. It's just to get the idea in their head that they're trading time for money, which I know there's certain careers where you don't do that, but for the vast majority of careers, you're trading your time for money. Sometimes you're trading your time for a lot more money, but generally that's how it's going. And then finally, between 10 and 15 is pretty much when you should teach them about everything else. That's probably when they're beginning their first job. It's when they will probably start talking about car, which introduces taxes and savings and loans and interest, and even like insurance and all that stuff. And this is just a broad guideline, by the way. I'm not trying to tell anybody how you're to raise your kids, because that's definitely not my place. But I have found my own personal experiences that when I met my son, he was 8. I have absolutely never shied away from any conversation about money with him. In fact, I think whether he likes it or not, I kind of steer the conversation to money because I like talking about it, because it's a huge interest of mine. But I also would give him like allowance money, and sometimes I'd let him trade that in for stocks. And I would actually print out like I would have to go to like TD Ameritrade, which is like my standard or my old school way of buying stocks before I started with Robinhood. By the way, Robinhood below, we both get free stuff, so click if you want one, if you want to make an account and we share. Well, we both get a free stock, I think. But anyway, I printed out the purchase for, I think it was Reebok was the first stock he owned, and he still has that today. And then I was going through a time where I was buying precious metals because they're cheap. So I would buy like 10 silver coins at a time, and I'd give him one of them. And I'd try to get the ones with cool patterns or something on them. And that was just to get him an idea of, this is worth something. And then I let him know the website you can go to check the current price of silver, so you kind of see it. Now, if he wanted to sell them, I probably would not allow him to sell the silver. What I would sooner do is I would just purchase them from him so he can liquidate that way. But the silver's probably never going to leave the household, the family wealth bubble. So I started looking into different books and stuff that kind of go over how to talk to kids about money. And some of them get very detailed. Like some of them want to suggest talking to your kids about economics, borrowing, interest, financing, mortgages. Mortgages are a huge one. I mean, there's adults who don't know how mortgages really work, or at least not understand them completely. But even the simple thing of financial discipline, like you don't always have to go out and buy the newest, best thing. Some of the other things are just assets, like how an asset and a liability are considered, so that they can think of in terms of that when they buy stuff, like is this an asset or a liability? I think one of the most important things you can teach kids is budgeting and tracking your spending. I remember in like 3rd grade, they told us about checkbooks, and I have literally never balanced a checkbook in my entire life. I've never done it. Basically, I didn't track anything until Mint came along, and then it made it easier to track stuff. But before that, I just didn't do it. Mostly is the reason is that because I was using my card for everything, every purchase, my checkbook would have gotten filled up really fast. So I discussed this with my mom when I got a little older, and I was asking her how the checkbooks work when she was a kid. And the thing is that what they used to do is just take money out of the ATM, and that's when they would deduct it from their checkbook, because that's when it's leaving their checking account. Makes sense. But you'd also take out like $100 in cash, and then you'd spend that $100, but you wouldn't log where you spent the $100, just say you took $100 out of your account. Now, for me, to get to the same $100, I might spend $20 on gas, $10 on snacks, I might go to the movies, I might do, so it might be 6 or 7 transactions for me to get to that same $100. And logging one thing for $100 is a lot easier than logging 7 or 8 things to get to the same amount. And I think that's what always deterred me from doing it. However, it's an important thing for kids to learn. So I looked up and I found a YouTube video going over a pretty awesome plan, which I think I'm going to implement when I get home. This family has, I think they said 3 kids. So they have a budget for how much they spend each month on entertainment, like kid-friendly stuff. And they have it on a white erase board in their kitchen. Every month, in the beginning of the month, they erased whatever the number was and they put the new number. I think it was like $200 a month. So let's say the kids want to go to a movie. It's like, okay. So you go up, and after they all go to the movie, which with 3 kids, if you're getting snacks and stuff, you're talking about $100. So you erase, the 200, and now you're down to $100 for the rest of the month. So it gets the kids in the mind frame of looking up at this number and seeing how much money they have left for when they want to do fun things. So then they said, the people making the video, that the kids start picking cheaper things like going to the park, riding bikes, which I think is probably better anyway. I mean, like I'm all for active activities, but movies are great too. I love watching movies. But it starts to get kids interested in that, and I think that's a great idea. So when I get home, I'm going to try to implement something similar to that. I think, I'm not sure, I'll probably make a video talking about it just to kind of see how it goes so you guys can help me track the progression of it. But it's an idea and I would like to see if it works. So the final lesson I learned when I was doing all this research is teach your kids not to go broke trying to look rich. And this kind of hits close to home for me because in our family, there is a certain interest in very name brand expensive things. Not me, obviously, because, look at, I'm just wearing a t-shirt, and under this I have, like, I don't know. I don't even know what kind of pants. These are 9/11 pants that my company paid for. But, I don't care about any of that stuff. I care more about how well it holds up and the quality of it than the actual name brand on it. In fact, I kind of resent the fact that clothing has labels on it, because if I'm not getting paid to advertise for you, or a discount to advertise for you, then why am I advertising for you? Like, I'm providing a free service for this company. But that's a whole other tangent. But I'm sure it happens with a lot of families where, like, I remember a couple years ago, kids were really into shoes. Like, all the kids seemed to be into shoes. They all wanted the Apple Watch, they wanted the expensive earbuds, they wanted the new phone, they wanted nice clothes and stuff like that. I'm not saying get kids cheap clothes that are falling apart. I'm just saying there's a big middle ground in there where you can get them quality clothes that look decent. But kids really need to learn that that's not really the important stuff. I mean, most people my age and most adults that are probably watching this channel, you've all realized that you don't even remember the type of shoes you had back in 9th grade. Or maybe you do, but I don't. And I would bet that most people don't even know what kind of shoes they had. They don't remember the t-shirt brand that they had or anything like that. But I can guarantee that if you save that money, you're probably better off, like the family as a whole. I mean, if nothing else, I mean, parents, I do want to point this out to you. I know a lot of parents want to spoil their kids because, they're only young for so long and stuff like that, and I understand that. However, I do want to point out that you have a lot less time to make money than your kids do. So the more money you filter to them on stuff they don't need, like, obviously, please don't take this as I'm telling you to neglect your children. I am not, I promise. But what I am saying is that it's better for you to start worrying about yourself a little bit more financially, because it's not going to help your kid if you retire and you have no money and now you have to either take money from them, or they need to pay for some of your bills, or you need to go live with them, or whatever. Putting that burden on them when you're older is not good either. So, take it for what it's worth. It's just my advice on it. So to sum up the whole video, my whole thing is parents have to start teaching their kids more about money. I would really start small and then work your way onto more and more complex ideas. But start young. Like, don't make money a taboo subject to bring up. If anything, simply teach kids not to bring it up in front of other people. Certainly don't go asking strangers what their income is, but it's not wrong to start teaching them about budgeting. It's not wrong to teach them that you have a budget and that's what you plan off of. I don't think that's wrong, and I think it's a very smart move to grow kids and their knowledge in the future, so that hopefully in a generation we don't have a situation where 90% of the population doesn't understand how finances work. Well, anyway guys, if you like this video, give me a like or share or subscribe. Feel free to leave a comment if you disagree with anything I said. I read every comment on my channel as of this point. I don't actually get too many of them, so it's very easy to read and respond to. So, leave me a comment if you want. I love to hear opinions about everything. Again, while we're on the subject, I'm sorry about the background. Can't do anything about it right now, okay? If you have any ideas, though, I am all ears, because at some point I will be back in the United States and I will set up something to do the videos with. Anyway, guys, stay safe and keep saving.